So 1 week from from the last time we were here on YouTube, looking at our own building.
We finished up in the ballroom. We had ended in the
Yeah.
ballroom.
So we're gonna talk about the rest of the upstairs here, and then go back down into the museum gallery a little bit. Go outside. We did spend a little bit of time outside
We
last
did.
time.
We did
Um,
have a little time outside.
yeah. So
I think we talked about the sidewalk, didn't we?
a little bit, yeah. And then we somehow got lost.
Yeah.
We got like phasing
Wandered
through windows.
around, which can happen very easily.
Yeah. So, all right. So we are in the second floor boardroom. Uh, I have the mouse today
Yeah.
and the mic.
Yes, after the little snafu last
After
week, Mike
we
won't let me
after we
navigate the building.
broke everything. But much like the ballroom, this room is also rented out for events and different things.
Showers, business meetings, sometimes birthday parties.
Euchre tournaments.
Yep, euchre tournaments.
Yeah. So
Prior to COVID, we had euchre tournaments in here.
a bunch of our players still continue to ask us when we're going to get it back. I'm like, I don't know. When
Yeah.
COVID ends, when we can put people in the room at small card tables across from each other again.
Well, for any visitors outside the United States, which hopefully there are a few or will visit us at some point through this tour, Michigan currently, as of August 2020, we are limited to 10 people. 10 people in a gathering.
Yeah.
So,
That is if the gathering is on purpose.
yes, if the gathering is on purpose.
Because we're a train station, we also count as an incidental place. So
Right.
more than 10 people could wander in, and that's okay. It's just that if you're throwing a party, you can only invite 10 people
Yes. Which is kind of limiting when you
or have it outside.
are a very large building.
Yeah, one of the things that we are talking about right now is how to utilize our outdoor area, potentially pictured here, for outside events. But we'll see how that goes. So there's a lot of pictures and stuff on the wall here that I think are pretty cool. Unfortunately, the way the virtual tour works, I can't get close enough to any of the pictures to show them off.
To really talk about them.
Yeah. What I was trying to do was show them this picture, and so that's not a great angle on it, but that's, I think, as best as we can do. This picture is probably the most famous photo ever taken of Durand.
Yes, it is.
But it is also completely fabricated. Durand was busy, especially in 1904 when this picture was taken, but it was never so busy that there were 7 trains at the station at once, including
Facing each
a
other.
couple that are facing each other. There's like that just wouldn't have happened. So it was meant to be like an advertisement for town. Like, you should come to Durand. Look how busy it is.
But it is a very iconic picture.
Yeah.
It was actually painted on the side of Dr. Turtha's building downtown Durand.
Yeah, it became a huge mural.
Yes.
It's also one of the few pictures taken of the original station, and one of the ways you can tell is that there are tiny dormers up on the roof that weren't put back in when they rebuilt the station after the fire. Yeah,
So
like,
that was pre-1905.
right. Not sure what else to talk about in this room. Like, some of the stuff is just cool looking. Rotary is in here.
Yep.
They
Rotary
have their
meets in the
meetings.
boardroom every Tuesday.
And then there are some photos on the wall of Durand from back in the day, most of which I don't think I can zoom in on close enough, but I can point some of them out. This was the dry goods store. Of course, there's so much glare you can't tell. And the people in the picture next to it own that store, and they're on a mechanized tandem bike. So they're on a Toozy bike that's got a motor on it. And this photo was taken in like 1907 or so. The wife of the pair is driving.
Yes.
So the guy in the back is just ballast because it's a motorized bike, so he doesn't even need to pedal.
Oh.
The other interesting thing about these pairs of photos is the horse that you can't even see in this photo. Let's see if I can get around to a different angle of it. Oh,
Yeah,
maybe
yep.
right there. That might work. Nope, totally didn't work. You can see these two better on their bike, but in this photo you can see a horse, which I am helpfully circling with my mouse. That horse's name was Bill, and Bill was trained to ride around town without a driver. So Bill would
He knew his route.
go around town and everybody with a cart, and people would put their orders for groceries in a basket on the back of his cart, and then he'd go back to the store, and then all the kids would run out and fill the orders. And then in the afternoon, he'd go back around town with the orders filled. So you could get your groceries delivered in 1900,
Yeah.
but it's still kind of a hassle to do it today. Yeah, that's kind of the gist of this room. It's one of the, because the second floor was it's so historically inaccurate. There's stuff about this room that we made it look kind of like it fit the theme, but it wasn't.
Well, and to explain a little bit of that, when the building was secured back in the 1970s.
Like 79 to 82 would be around then.
Yep. The upstairs was literally 2x4s and bare floors. There was no floor coverings. There was no drywall. You could see through the walls. And that was during the restoration process. So what happened at that point is they specifically built these individual rooms for the purpose of the nonprofit.
Got to keep the lights on somehow. So renting the building out was the way to do that. We have a caterer's kitchen. So if you're thinking of renting with us, this is where you keep your food warm. This over here is where you keep your food cold.
Yeah, we have an industrial refrigerator, a regular standard refrigerator, and around the corner there is a chest freezer and additional counter space. So it is very handy.
This is where you would keep all your crock pots.
Yeah, yep.
Very clean kitchen. We have more than one fire extinguisher.
Several fire extinguishers.
As you might expect from a place that A, follows code, and B, is eternally paranoid over a fire.
So what you're looking at right now are the director's office and the assistant's office.
We'll stand right in the doorway. Oh, I guess not. Fine. I guess we're not going in your office.
Nope, guess not.
Door is closed. I don't know how much further down the hallway this thing goes.
Quite a ways, all the way to the...
Because I know that...
At the end of the hall, at the end of the hallway, that's the door to the attic.
Yep.
The attic is not finished off, but it is used for storage. At Christmas time, when we put all the trees up throughout the building, 50 plus Christmas trees.
You can actually see some of them right here.
They are stored there on the left-hand side of the attic.
Yep. You can also see that at some point they had taken the dormers out.
Yes.
And then in 2005, when we had the roof changed back to tile, they put the dormers back in. Mm-hmm. So you can see the new timber that's been added to the old timber from the 1900 build there. This is also like a really cool, giant, heavy fire door.
Standard tour of the building when you are able to come here in person. You don't get to see the attic. That is one space that is off limits to the public.
It's just storage. It isn't particularly fascinating outside of the fact that it's very, very old.
Yes.
Similarly, not on the tour, the third floor, because that's how you get to it. Right there, that access panel requires a very tall ladder that I don't like, and you don't climb ladders either, so you won't go up there.
I do not climb ladders.
This is the Ann Arbor Historical Society's museum room. They're here on Saturdays. If you come in and say hey to them, they are very nice. Tell you everything you want to know about the Ann Arbor and its operating, especially when it comes to like car ferries and such. This is kind of what they do. And they have really cool shirts, I've noticed. They are really good at merchandise.
Mm-hmm.
More than one copy of this map I've seen throughout our museum. But yeah, some pretty cool stuff here. We'll bop back down the hallway and show you the grand trunk room. A lot of photos on the walls of things that are, tied to us or just the railroad. That's our roundhouse. That's another one of our roundhouse. I believe that one was a Saginaw roundhouse. This is my favorite photo in the entire building.
And the reason why it's your favorite photo.
It's because of these two guys who have the international body language of "I am so fired."
Yeah.
But yeah, that was taken right after the building burnt down. There actually is a second photo taken from the other angle that I found recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like on the other side of the sidewalk.
Oh, that's neat. I don't
That
think
that
I've
side
ever
is also
seen that
burnt
one.
down.
Yes, both sides, unfortunately.
Neither half of the upstairs was saved.
And that was in 1905. 1905?
April of 05. That is the original depot, or at least the original Grand Trunk Depot in Durand, from the 1800s. And then this is also that with the Junction House Hotel that was right across. This is where Perrin's Construction is now, if you're a local. And then there was the Ann Arbor Depot not too far down the tracks, which is why they built one here. They had two depots. They just combined them into one. I think this photo, this is the photo of them rebuilding the dormers and putting the tile on and all sorts of fun stuff. The day we got our fancy historic sign. Comment: I'm so bad with dates, I don't understand how you remember them. The reason I remember them is because I have a degree in history. So I was forced to. So this is the second floor. Oh, that's right. We were heading to the Grand Trunk room before I got distracted by my own job. You can look into our oh, nope, that door is shut. I was going to show you one of our 7 furnaces. I think there are 2 of them in there.
Yes.
2 furnaces in that room. So this is the Grand Trunk Western Historical Society room. Much like the Ann Arbor, they handled a lot of their own history, and they have some cool stuff to show off, like that. They also have really awesome maps for some of the stuff that, like the Pierre Marquette and the Michigan Central, places like that. But yeah, they also have a lot of books to sell and some merchandise. We had some people in the other day looking for hats, and I suggested that they come back on a Saturday and see if these hats were kind of what they were looking for. They also have a very fancy chair that I'm jealous that they have. We don't have fancy chairs. Because everything we get is a hand-me-down. We did buy one new chair recently.
So the second floor has an elevator.
Elevator.
First floor to the second floor. That was one of the improvements that was made in the early 1980s.
He didn't open the elevator and go inside.
Didn't.
Some information about the 1225, which is a very famous locomotive that lives in Owasso.
We have another comment.
Station has a history of burning down and has 7 furnaces. Well, it burnt down because the boiler had a problem.
Yes, it was way prior to gas furnaces. It was a boiler room issue.
Yeah. So one of the first things we did when we took control of the building was, hey, get rid of that boiler. The boiler was actually like really efficient because in the era of steam, they could park a steam engine right outside the building and connect it to the boiler and force steam from the engine into our system. So you didn't even have to run the boiler all the time.
Ladies' lounge, isn't it?
The connector may have been in there. Yeah. So we're back down the stairs. I managed to not accidentally end up outside our very cool stairwell. Did we go into the ladies' lounge? We should do that.
No, we did not. I'm not 100% sure we spent much time in the
We started
Amtrak
in
lobby.
here, but I don't know if we spent a lot of time in there.
Oh, you can go into the elevator
What?
downstairs.
Ah.
Right there.
Ah.
You can.
Okay. All right. I guess I won't email him.
Email who? Oh, Zach. Yeah, I have to give kudos to Zach Longsway. He is the one that created the virtual tour.
So look, our very nice 2-floor elevator with a phone that works.
Yes. Yep. Just got the inspection this week on it.
I just went past another fire extinguisher.
So back in the Amtrak lobby.
So we actually talked about most of the stuff that's in here already, but we forgot to go in here. So there used to be a men's lounge as well, but in order to shoehorn in 3 of our furnaces, we had to sacrifice a room, and that's where the elevator stuff lives as well.
Yes.
So this is the ladies' lounge. It was just a sitting room. It's taken on a bunch of different forms over the years. For a long time, we had like chaise lounges and stuff, but then no matter how many times you put a sign on it that says "Don't lay on this couch," people would.
Somebody would.
So it basically is just a room that looks nice. Maybe somewhere down the road we will turn it into a like a period appropriate room or something where it looks more like 1904 than any of the others. But
Right.
yeah, so I'm not going to take you into the ladies' room. That's weird, but you can see the sort of stuff that we put in here. We have T-walls for artwork, but also we hide folding tables and other fun stuff with them. They're very useful.
For as big as the building is, it's amazing. There's not.
How little storage we
Yeah,
actually have.
There's very little storage. Other than the second floor attic,
Yeah.
there's very little storage in the building.
Did we talk about the garbage can? No. Did we talk about the Amtrak thing?
We did not. The
The-
Amtrak kiosk.
If you want to buy an Amtrak ticket, you need to use their little ATM looking doodad. We're short staffed again today, so if somebody walks in, Mary has to get up and go actually talk to them. Oh, it's Brian.
You want me to go?
Please go sell Brian
Okay.
his. Brian comes in every day and he buys a Mountain Dew and a Reese's peanut butter cup. So he is here. He has made it, which means the day is now official. We have a validation Brian. So this Amtrak kiosk here is the only way that you can buy a ticket at the station. We are an unmanned Amtrak station. We have volunteers to help you get on the train and so on and so forth. But if you don't want to use your phone or buy it on the internet, you have to buy your ticket from here. I understand that we're going to get a new one. So I'm excited about that because I'm going to tell you guys a secret on the internet when my boss isn't here. That computer runs Windows XP. I have no idea how it's still on. And then there's our player piano, which is awesome, and I know how to change the roll in that. And some snacks. Oh, nice. We actually had the machine filled when he came in. That was accidental, but cool. All right, so I'm going to take you down the hallway here and take you into the museum room and show you off some stuff that I've done. Man, we sprinted. All right, so we're here in the room. This used to be the kitchen, or not the kitchen, the dining room, and it was split down the middle. So over here on the left, you would have the formal dining up until about 1920 when dining cars became the thing, and then they didn't need it anymore. But this side of the room has always been, or at least up until they closed the building, was like a diner. And you can see on the floor, we were actually talking about this today, the outline of the counter. And you can also see on the floor the outlines of the stools that they would sit on. However, there's a chance that we may have had a second counter in at some point because some of the grooves on the floor don't line up with where the counter was. But you can kind of see how it was shaped here. And of course they built it so the pole was on the inside of the counter, so maximum seating. But this is now the gallery for the Michigan Railroad History Museum, and it is also the gift shop. So, I mean, if you want to buy something from us, I fixed our web store today. So a lot of this stuff is actually still on sale on that web store, like all these hoodies and this shirt and all these hats. But it changes a lot. We've been trying really hard to get our online store to work, especially in the era of COVID where we have less people potentially coming in the door. It'd be nice to sell some stuff online.
Hopefully this tour will entice people to support us in that way.
And if I'll give you the DepotCast discount if you use the coupon DepotCast.
And were you able to get that?
Yeah, it works.
Oh, wonderful.
You get 10% off any order of $25 or more on the store. So go to durandstation.org and go to the store and buy a shirt from us. We'll put it in a box and mail it to you. Or if you live around here, you can just say, I'll come and get it.
Yep.
And then when you show up, we'll hand you the shirt. So here's some of the stuff that we've put on display. All of these tools were upstairs in the attic, and they weren't doing anybody any good up there. So we got them out. mounted up on this thing, and then I took a picture of it, and then in Photoshop I made it look like a charcoal drawing. That's how that came to be, and then made like a little map for it.
So I mentioned last week the flags that are on the virtual tour. If you go to our website, you can get an audio tour of the building as well. So any of these flags that you're interested in learning a little bit more about what they represent, what they talk about,
Yeah.
you can click on them and receive some audio history.
So moving down the line here, we got a couple things in this little aisleway to show off. This is probably our most recent full case, which is on the different industries that use the railroad in the state. Logging, shipping, and mining. Because Michigan has two peninsulas, the upper one is the one that has all the ore in it.
Yeah.
So they would mine it for, actually, I think he set it up like this so you can stand head on and look in. Especially in the Keweenaw Peninsula, the very top of the UP is where a lot of the copper was, and still is. I think they still do. They still mine copper up there? I think they do.
I do not know. That would be something we would Google.
Probably look that up. But especially around this area, we get a lot of things shipped in the automobile industry. We see auto racks more than anything else.
Yes.
So
a lot of trains go by that
have trucks from GM
Yep.
or. Most recently, we've seen a lot of blades for the giant windmills
Yes, that's always interesting when
because
we
they're on a special car that is huge. It's very wide, or it's very long, but the load can swivel in the center.
Yep.
So as it goes around,
has a pivot.
yeah, it'll pivot. And then logging, and logging railroads usually use like narrow gauge stuff, and they would go up really weird hillsides and things of that nature. So a fellow by the name of Ephraim Shea, who lived in the Ingham area, maybe a little bit Eaton County, somewhere in that area, invented a locomotive that used gears to power it up the mountain, up the side of the hill.
Oh.
So let's see. So you can see that it doesn't drive the way that a normal locomotive does. It has these gears on the side that actually allow it to push more power. And then locally, we have Simplicity Engineering, which makes gravel screens, and they still exist in Durand, and they use the railroad to ship their stuff to this day. And then this is a model logging camp that a man made in 1940, and then it ended up in our collection. So we got it back out and cleaned it up and did some stuff. I'm going to show you this. See if I can get this thing to zoom in. Well, that's about as far as it's going to go. This man in the green has had an accident. And then the man in blue here is just staring at him. But what happened was when I was installing this, the green guy kept falling over. And then eventually I was just like, whatever. If he's not going to stand up straight, I'm just going to make him part of the story anyway. And so I did.
So to answer the question, all mining of native metallic copper ceased in the UP in 1969.
Okay. This is railroad military stuff. Most of the items in here are on loan from a fellow named Bob Swanson, who is very, very nice and
A good friend of the organization.
good friend of ours, and has always loaned us whatever we asked for because he's got a pretty good collection of his own. With the exception of this hospital train was something that we already owned. And it kind of talks about how railroads impacted warfare, especially starting with the Civil War, because that was also right as the railroad was taking off as a thing. And this is a photo of the outcome of the North burning their way to Atlanta. These are called Sherman neckties. So as they burnt their way to the ocean, they would destroy the rails and bend them all up and tie them around trees and just to completely make it so the South had no way to get resources or food or new supplies to anybody else. And that is one of the ways that they won the Civil War. I don't see anybody coming in. We heard the door, so we're looking. Oh, yeah, somebody.
I hear footsteps.
All right.
Oh, and it is visitors.
Yep. So I'll continue the tour. And then turning around here, we're looking at some hobo codes. Yes, exactly. Those are hobo markings on the fence. They are not authentic. I made them. But we have lots and lots of examples of hobo codes. So I bought a big chunk of white fence, or it wasn't a white fence when we started. I ruined a hoodie painting it white, and then I painted these markings on it. Hobos typically would scratch their stuff into fences. They didn't want them to be as obvious as I made them, but we wanted people to kind of see them up close. So that's why there's labels on them that explain what they are and what they do. And talks a little bit about hobos and life on the rails, especially our dear friend Steam Train Maury, who was the king of the hobos repeatedly. That's him right there. That's a needle point, which is really cool. The angle on this is odd, so I don't think I can get super up close, but that's him. There's some other cool stuff here on the wall, like a hobo stick. We've got a couple of those that they came back from a hobo convention and they gave us an autographed hobo stick of some sort. This is a blinking lantern, like a blinking light, that used to be out in the field for real. You'd press this button and it dings. This actually blinks back and forth, but long exposure times do stuff like that. So this is an exhibit that we actually don't have on display in here anymore. We moved it out to the lobby. Yeah, so they do have conventions. They have it's literally called the Hobo Convention. It's in Britt, Iowa every year, although they may have canceled it this year. And it's where they elect the king of the hobos. There, in fact, is a king of the hobos and a queen, and they are elected democratically. And they've had the National Hobo Convention since like 1899, or even further back. They are a recognized travel union. Hobos are, because they got around vagrancy laws by being unionized. So they actually have a charter and a code that they follow. This here is the evolution of how engines kind of got to where we are today, starting with really simple ones, relatively speaking, that were made in the 1850s, all the way up to the modern ones of today, and including the electric Acela Express. Easy for me to say, Acela Express, which runs up the eastern seaboard between, I believe, Boston and DC. And then this display just sort of cycles through a bunch of different types of engines and gives some information as to what they are and what they do. Moving on here. We'll stand sort of centrally located in the room, look at some stuff. This exhibit over here is the history of railroading in Michigan, which is enormous. We've had the railroad since the 1830s up until present day, so that's why I needed this monitor to kind of show off everything that we do and everything that the state has had. And then we got some extra stuff that helps tell that story below. Next to it, here we have presidential whistle stops. Durand, because we're pretty centrally located in the state, has had a lot of presidents come through. Probably the most famous one was Gerald Ford, because he was from Michigan. So that's kind of why his tour was the focus of the exhibit. But we've had like Nixon and Eisenhower and Harry Truman and Clinton and George W. Bush all come through as well. Teddy Roosevelt was also around in nearby Owasso in the early 1900s. FDR, the other Roosevelt, was also in Owasso when he campaigned. So we had this train already in our collection. And one of the things that we did was we turned it into a president train. So I found all these little bits of bunting on Etsy for like a dollhouse and turned it into a train. And then I found a tiny Dwight Eisenhower to put in the back of the train. So there he is. These are Secret Service guys, by the way. And it was raining, so most of this umbrella is obscured by other stuff. But when we're looking at photos of the president's stuff, it's fun to play the game of how many of these guys are Secret Service agents. I know at least 3, and I'm sure I'm shorting it. These 2 are photographers, but yeah, 3 Secret Service guys and a bunch of Durand cops. Okay, so spinning around here, more gift shop stuff. We were on The Big Bang Theory by accident. A calendar with a photo of the depot on it ended up on the show, and then we contacted their production company and sent them more stuff, and they continue to put it on the show. So We need to talk to the young Sheldon people and see if they want more stuff. That would be cool. So on the other side of the room here, we've got the circus wreck from 1903. That was just a catastrophe. I think it killed 14 people and a bunch of animals. Next to that is an exhibit that we haven't redone yet about the roundhouse. It's on my list of things to get to. Durand had a roundhouse for about 60 years. It got torn down in 1961 when they switched from steam engines to diesels. Rather than retrofit it to fix the new gear, they just tore everything down and told the railroad people, "You all work in Port Huron now, or you all work in Battle Creek." But the engines themselves didn't need to be serviced as often as the steam engines did, so that's why Durand's Durand's office was no longer as necessary. Mary's back, so
I am.
they buy anything?
No.
Dang it!
Just looked around.
That's also okay, but I don't think I've made, other than Brian, I don't think I've made a single sale today. I've made no money. They're gonna fire.
So did you talk about the Thomas table?
No, we've been going counterclockwise around the room.
Okay.
And then this is probably this is the first exhibit that I ever did for real here. The end of the steam era, and all the stuff in it is sort of better to be lucky than good. Someone just called us and said, "Hey, I have the bell from the last steam whistle to come, steam engine to come through Durand. Do you want it?"
Yeah.
Yep.
Of course we do.
So you and I drove down the Grand Ledge and picked that thing up. Keep it down out there. We got people walking on the outside of the building. The number plate came to us as a result of us getting the bell.
Yep.
Because the guy who owned it believed that they belonged together. And the steam whistle and all of this stuff all actually came from the same engine. So it all came from the 6319. Again, all of this came from 3 different sources. So for us to get it all in one case to talk about the end of the steam era is pretty amazing. The 6319 was the last regularly scheduled passenger train powered by steam in the country, and it came from Detroit to Durand in 1961. So Durand ends up having the final steam engine that carried passengers as a regular train. So so we're moving around here. We have this enormous poster of this engine, which is on display in Durand. It's over by our water tower. And then we've got our Thomas table, which is custom built for us. Kids love playing with it, except that we have to put it away for COVID right now, so it's sitting in storage. The table currently has a bunch of artwork on it because we're about to put some stuff on the wall. Also, we've hidden a bunch of hobo codes throughout the building for people to check out as they wander around. And then this TV usually has some Operation Lifesaver or a kids video on it, because this is the kids area, as evidenced by our fancy kid floor. But then, turning around, this is also where we store the pistol display that we have, where the question is simple. How do you stop a train robber? Well, if you were a conductor in the late 1800s, you had a small pistol that broke in the center, and it was a .32 caliber gun, and it had a range of about 8 feet. And so it didn't, it would hurt a lot. You wouldn't want to get shot by it, but it also wasn't super powerful. But then again, you only really needed about a range of 8 feet if you're in a rail car. We got that stuff because the guy who gave it to us was he would cut through upstate New York to get to us. That's where he lived. And he'd cut through Canada to visit Michigan. And when he came through, he said, "I have something you might want, but you probably can't get it through customs." And I was like, "Go on." And he said, "I have these pistols." And I was like, "You're right." And it was a real to-do. We eventually got them UPS'd to us. More photos on the walls of various depots around here and things like that. How do you get a train across the water? You put it on a boat. Not the locomotive, that would sink it, but both the Grand Trunk and the Ann Arbor ran car ferries, and in fact, that's kind of why Durand exists, because they were trying to build a rail line from Detroit to Grand Haven, and we were in the way. So, car ferries, moving on. This is a pretty serious display for us. Durand is a community that is 99.96% white, but the railroad industry was built on the backs of minority labor, and we wanted to give them their fair due and give them the credit they deserve. So this display spends a lot of time talking about how awful black railroaders had it, and then gives some examples of some people who succeeded despite those limitations and all the roadblocks that were put in front of them, including the real McCoy. Elijah McCoy lived in Ypsilanti, and he invented a lubricating indicator that was so good that you could tell whether or not your train was running well, whether you had the real McCoy in it or not, because people would copy ideas all the time. But yeah, so this display is something that's near and dear to our hearts, and we're glad that we were able to sort of tell this story and show it to people. And then next to it, we have the display on women railroaders, because Durand was a place of business and a big rail office, so we had a lot of people in the clerical fields for sure. But around the time that they were closing the building is around the time that you started seeing female engineers and train crew. So a lot of these ladies were people who are still in town, who are locals and have kids and grandkids and stuff. So it's always really fun when somebody comes in and they go, "That's my grandma." In that case, it's, it keeps our mission home, and I like that a lot. So, and then rounding the corner here, our Knights Templar that people bump into all the time, because this display here is a 3-part story about how to build rail, and then below it is how you would maintain rail. And then here's what happens if you don't maintain rail. This wreck, the Knights Templar Special in 1923, crashed as a result of poorly maintained rail. The railroad ties underneath it failed, and then the rail wobbled and fell fell over.
Yep.
So then when the train hit it at speed on a curve, it just toppled, and it killed a bunch of people. I don't remember the details of how many people died in it, but it was a pretty serious train wreck. And sometime a while back, we ended up acquiring a Knights Templar uniform, so he is on display. And people bump into him and apologize to him pretty regularly. I'm peeking our head into the library here. We have what we believe is the largest collection of railroad-specific books in the state. That's also where we're sitting right now, and you're hearing us. We're sitting right at this desk.
The desk.
So, but we are a non-lending library, so if you want to read the books, we'll pull you up a chair and you can hang out, but can't take it with you. And then around the corner here is a closed door to the archive, and usually where my desk
But you
is.
should be able to walk into it.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's an archive. It's pretty messy. It's also not nearly as interesting looking as a library, because most of the collection are in boxes. So you can kind of see some of the stuff we're working on. This is my wall of grandpas. When people come in and they say, "I'm looking for information on my granddad," and I say, "Okay, what's his name? Bill Johnson." Well, that's going to be a hard one to find. What railroad did he work for? Well, we're not really sure. He just always called it the railroad. Okay, so now I'm looking for a Bill Johnson across every railroad in the state, of which there were hundreds. When did he work? Between like 1920 and 1950. Okay, so now I'm looking for a Bill Johnson who had a 30-year career.
Needle in a haystack.
Yeah. So, all right, I'll take your information down. If I ever find him, I'll let you know. And then he ends up on my wall of grandpas. I think I've only had like 2 get off the wall.
Oh, really? So you did find a
I have
couple of them.
succeeded twice, but it is a very hard thing to succeed at.
It is hard because a lot of the employment records from the railroad were destroyed.
Yeah. When the
they
railroad was going to demolish the building,
Yes.
all the records that were in the attic just got thrown in a dumpster. So, our magical phasing clock. Oh, that I was trying to back up so you could see it, but this clock. Let's see if it shows up here. Was made by John Sandula, who made the clock that's on display in the center of town.
Mm-hmm.
That was on display at Simplicity Engineering, and he made it for himself. That was the one that was for his machine shop. He was a machinist for Simplicity, and before he moved to the United States, because he was a Hungarian immigrant, he was a clockmaker or a clockmaker's apprentice.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where he learned. Okay, so we're gonna take you outside now. Slowly, I'm gonna slowly get you outside. And we're going to head to the back of the building and show off some stuff out there. There's my old truck. I don't have that truck anymore. Curtis was here that day.
And Brian.
Brian was here that day. So, all right. So as we walk down here, I'm going to show off some stuff. So this is a regular, like a baggage cart.
Yep.
These were very, very, yeah. Okay. So the wall of grandpas and the sidewalk of friends. Correct. That is a good observation. This right here is the library. So you're looking at the library from the outside now. This is just your standard baggage car. People would load it up, take it over to the train, or load stuff off of it. And then as we move further down the line here, this is where the model railroad guys are on Saturdays. I don't think
we
Zach,
do not have pictures.
Zach didn't get in there. Yeah. This is also a baggage cart. However, it has been modified. This is as far as
the sidewalk goes.
Apparently, this cart was modified for coffins. Because Durand was a major intersection, not everybody got off the train of their own power.
Yes.
Especially during World War I and World War II, and to a lesser extent Korea. They would not come home in one piece, so they would come home in their coffin, and then they'd have to be loaded with some degree of respect and dignity. And this is how they accomplished that.
Yeah.
So they could put 3 on a cart at a time, and then basically like everybody's waiting for their. It's like going to the airport. You're waiting for your connection. Sometimes you have to wait for your connection here. This is a popcorn cart from it wasn't made in 1903, but it's made to look like it was. It basically lives here now. We used to borrow it for the summer, and then it stayed all winter last time around.
It
so
did.
So taking us back toward the front of the building here. Oh, yeah, that cart there could be used for either hose, like if you're
fire hose,
like a fire hose.
Mm-hmm.
But around here, it was more likely that it was used for telegraph wire.
Oh,
because of the railroad. So,
okay, that would make
but
sense.
But it would work for both. And then another simple cart. Wheel things around here. Our ash can. Please don't leave your cigarette butts on the ground. Lots and lots of benches and picnic tables.
Lots of places to watch trains.
Yep.
And around the front of the building, I think we've got 2 or 3 picnic tables.
I don't think did he get inside the caboose either? I don't think he did.
So.
He intended to, but it ran out of time. So yeah, this is the canopy here. Oh yeah. A train was going by for some of this. Zach had mentioned that he really wanted to get a train, and he was fortunate enough to be here on a day where it worked out for him. He probably would have chosen a better weather day, but you can see kind of how the day changes. Like, see how it's nice out there, and then it was cloudy and not great. So I'm going to kind of move this way and kind of show you where to go. So this area here that I'm wiggling my mouse at heads you toward Chicago. That's west. Durand, the depot is not on a straight north-south sort of axis. That is toward Port Huron, so that would take you toward Flint and into Canada. And then this line that is going this way across the building.
North-south line,
the north-south line is that kind of takes you toward Owasso, but the yard is also over there, the rail yard. Which CN has asked us very nicely to not show off too much of their yard, so we won't. So that takes you northward. It also would kind of take you out toward the Saginaw area. Mm-hmm. That's how you would get there. You go out and around town and then head east. And then this takes you right down into Holly and Broil Oak and Pontiac and then Detroit. And this is still the original line that would take you from here to Grand Haven. Like that was the line. It would take you all the way this way and then out and around. And yeah, so that was the tour. I don't think there's anything else to talk about. I didn't want to spend I didn't want to go a whole lot longer than 40 minutes. So, but yeah, this is our home. This is Durand Union Station. Our rail stream cameras are up there. and pretty handsome building for 120.
Yes, it is.
It's taking a lot of hard work. Trying to see how far down the sidewalk we can go on this side. Because I wanted to show off the breezeway, but I'm not sure if it... Oh, this is how you would get on the Amtrak if you're in a wheelchair.
Yep, that's the handicap accessibility for Amtrak.
3 condenser units for the air conditioners.
Yep.
Those are like track workers over there.
Looks like it.
Yeah, they're in the truck. All right, so we're moving along. We're getting ever closer. This is the back door for the model railroad guys. This is Dondero's marching band brick. They bought 20 of them. So rather than
putting a
put
brick
20
in each
in,
one.
they built one gigantic one. This is as far as it goes. This breezeway goes all the way through the building. And then back here is the freight room. And then this was the old baggage room. And this is where the model railroad guys live now.
Yes.
But the freight room is also, it's similar to the attic in that it doesn't have a lot of, like, it's not finished in a way that we would consider it museum ready.
Right.
But yeah, and that's our station. Actually, look, there's an employee right there hanging out. And there's a train on the highway. Look at that. So no one could get in or out while that train was there. And then this dude is hanging out waiting. So, yep, that's our station. And that's the end of the tour. So thanks for watching. If you're watching us after the fact, come in and say hey, or email us, or, yell at us on Facebook or something like that. And these are a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I feel like we could probably give this tour, like we'd give an abbreviated version to kids or whatever, but.
Oh, definitely. COVID has changed a lot of things for us, which is interesting. We put together this virtual tour to share the building with the world, basically, and COVID has made us think outside the box and come up with ideas. And this live virtual tour is something that we came up with. So hopefully in the near future, we'll be giving tours to Girl Scouts and civic groups and maybe even classrooms.
And if you're that guy from Ireland who listens to the podcast.
Yeah, we would love to have you.
Yeah, come check it out. So, all right, we're going to take you to the end here and say goodbye. So once again, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you around on the internet later.